it's actually much cheaper for me to stay here within the M25, £9 a night, than what it were having an house. This week, I've been mostly talking crap. Well, thanks for joining me this week, and I'm going to talk about why and how I became a full-time van lifer. I guess my story starts probably around about 2010. I can always remember coming home and having my evening meal in front of the TV, and I can always remember there were two programs I used to watch. One was The Simpsons, which I used to be laughing at, you know, all the antics of Bart and Homer. And then followed that with the, I'm saying, well, like the 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock news. And watching the news, I used to end up shouting at the TV, getting really frustrated with the government and how the things were being handled, and it used to wind me up. And I think at this point, I decided to stop watching mainstream TV. So I don't watch any TV now whatsoever. I do tend to watch a couple of channels on YouTube, and I get most of my news and my information from the internet rather than TV. I started watching a guy for my news reports, and he covered Brexit when we were leading up to Brexit. And you know, I take everything with a pinch of salt, and what I found out were, you know, I could see a difference in between what mainstream media were running with Brexit and what this guy was saying. Everything what this guy was saying turned out to be true, and the mainstream stuff hasn't been true. So yeah, so I started favouring the internet TV, you know, over like the mainstream stuff. Not only that, you know, when you look around, I mean, we live in a crazy world at the minute, very crazy. And, you know, growing up in the 80s was a great time. But what I'm tending to see now is there's definitely a lack of respect within the modern culture. And things are definitely getting worse. Migration issues, the green agenda, the LBQ, whatever it is, you know, everything seems to be being pushed upon us, and I don't know, maybe I'm 53, so maybe I don't see eye to eye with some of the agendas what are being pushed around at the minute. Maybe it's an age thing. Maybe as we get older we get grumpier and we don't agree with it. I don't know, let me know, what do you think in the comments? So I'm really proud to be British, really proud. I think this island, what we've got here, what we call England, is a great place. I just seem to think that the government is failing us at the minute. So that being said, I felt the need to distance myself from society, get away from it all, because, you know, if you were to be glued in front of the TV 24/7, I think you'd just go stare crazy. I think you would. So the plan was to distance myself from society a little bit more. I think that's what everybody does, whether it's, you know, jumping on a plane to go to Benidorm, or whether it's a camping trip up in the lakes, you know, the Lake District. I think people do like that escapism, and I think that's where sort of like the plans were starting off, you know, early on. In back of the mind somewhere, I wanted to get away from it all. I'm a joiner shop fitter, foreman, so a lot of my time I spent working away from home. In a nutshell, I only returned home for 4 nights a month, and that house was actually costing me £1,000 a month. Where I am today, incidentally at Walton-on-Thames, within the M25, this place is costing me about £12 a night. Last week I was actually on grass, Offgrid, and that was costing me £9 a night. So £9 a night, which if you look at what the house was actually costing me, £1,000 a month, £9 a night is less than £300 a month. So when we talk about the cost of living, you know, it's actually much cheaper for me to stay here within the M25, £9 a night, than what it were having an house. And then, like I said, the house was costing me £1,000 a month. I've come on to the electric just for the last few days that I'm going to be here, for the simple reason I've got a ton of washing to do, and having the electric, having the heating on to dry the washing as well is essential. So just for the last few nights I've dropped onto electric so I can do a load of washing and a load of drying. So even at £12 a night, you know, it's still £500 cheaper than a month, that is, than owning an house. And that will, I'm quoting figures, £1,000 a month, which were 2018, 2019. So cost of living's gone up since then. So you're saving much more than that. Before we actually decided on a camper, a truck camper, I actually looked at narrow boats, I looked at yachts, and I thought, well, you know, buy a yacht. Yachts are cheap enough, £15,000 will buy you a nice yacht. Get one down in the Mediterranean, and I can just, you know, Miranda around the Mediterranean. Until I found out that, you know, boats, the Mediterranean can get very rough, and what they do in the winter months, they take the boats out of, or the yachts off the Mediterranean and store them on dry land. So that was one of the problems having a yacht. The narrow boats, again, you're restricted with where you can go, mooring costs and things like that. So we decided on our truck, eBay, and I tend to call it a land yacht. So we've settled for the truck. There's less restrictions with this than having a boat or a narrow boat. We can tend to come and go as we please. Yes, there are restrictions, like I mentioned previous, with car parks. Yeah, I don't think you can get away from the restrictions. However, you know, when we want to go and visit a place, we just jump in the truck, park up somewhere, either use the bike, and off we go. So the truck was the better option than having a yacht. So what else have we got here? Looking at the problems of each country, the problems around the world, things just seem to be never easy. There's always unrest, there's always a war going on somewhere. The governments don't want you living off grid, quite simply. You know, they want you to buy an house, have a car, and do all the working 9 till 5, 7 days a week, and pay your taxes and be good. I didn't want that, and a little bit of freedom is to sell your house and live in a vehicle. You know, it gives you much more freedom, and it's much more easier to get around the taxes what you pay in an house.
I saw the ending before the movie was done. I got thick skin because I've been burned before.
living in a camper isn't going to be for everyone. You know, a lot of people out there sell the van life dream, and we've all seen the Instagram pictures, okay? It's not always like that. You are going to have problems. You're going to have problems when you're on the move. You're going to have problems with the weather, and so on. So yeah, van life is not going to be for everyone. My advice to you, if you are thinking about joining the van life, the full-timers, certainly try in the springtime, and then you've got the spring, all the summer, and have a plan. Have a plan to go maybe further afield or further south in the winter months. So look at Spain. Now, with Schengen, you're going to have to be looking at maybe going into Morocco or further afield into Turkey. You're going to have problems. It's not going to be very similar to an house where, you know, an house is quite constant. You're going to have problems with mechanical issues, with parking issues, with weather issues, and God knows what else. So you've got to be able to overcome problems on the move, and if you can do that and you can survive the weather and sometimes the loneliness, I think you're on to a winner. You're going to definitely save money, and you're going to definitely have a much better lifestyle. So with that said, I apologise if I've upset anyone with some of the topics I've talked about tonight. Just my personal thoughts, no harm intended. If you've got any comments or any ideas or any thoughts on the comments I've mentioned tonight, please stick them down in the comments box. And until next time, I'm going to say cheers, and we'll catch you on the next one.